Hi, my name is Carolyn Elefant, and I blog. My first blog was myshingle.com. Tomorrow is my blog's 7th year anniversary. I always wondered when I started it, thank you, how long one could actually keep up a blog and whether you'd be find yourself blogging, 15 years down the line and referencing back to some of your early sites and engaging in this entire process of self-referential and citation. But one of the reasons why I started my first blog, myshingle.com, which is for and about solo and small firm practitioners, is because I felt that the issue of solo and small firm lawyers within the broader legal profession was not adequately addressed. And what I mean by that is there are plenty of magazines and bar association events that deal with the how-tos, the practical issues related to practicing law, the technology, and updates on different types of practical skills. But I felt that there wasn't anybody speaking to the issues of the role that solos and small firms play in our justice system. There are so many different think tanks that are devoted to the scholarship of the large firm and talk about the role of the large firm, whether we should have private ownership within large firm entities, whether we should change ethics rules to allow for non-lawyers to be partners in big firms. But I didn't feel that there was anybody really talking about issues related to the ethics of being a solo practitioner, the obligations that we have to our clients, and generally the role and the influence that we have within the legal profession. I also felt that the legal profession was somewhat stratified, and by starting a blog about solo and small firm practice, I felt that I was opening the door to conversation between our part of the profession and larger firms, academics, and other people within other groups within the legal profession where there wasn't a lot of communication. As a result of my blog, it was plucked from obscurity, I like to say, by one of the editors at what was then American Law Media. It's now Incisive Media. It's the largest publication of law-related media. And they asked my blog to become an affiliate blog of their site, and eventually they hired me to write the Legal Blog Watch, which is one of the blogs that Incisive Media has for tracking issues in the blogosphere. And I wrote there for 3.5 years, and I tracked large firm trends, small firm trends, issues related to courts, reported on the Supreme Court, and basically highlighted the conversations taking place in the blogosphere. And that was something I did until a few months ago, where I found that the toll of running a law practice and my own blogs, plus writing 12 to 15 posts a week, was too much to ensure quality. And I'm a big proponent of quality control within the blogosphere. I think that it's very important for bloggers individually to maintain control of their sites so that we don't see a deterioration in quality or a lot of white noise in the blogosphere, because I think that that ultimately diminishes the respect that blogs can get. Some of the trends that I've observed in the impact of blogs within solo and small firms is, first of all, I think that they have helped to democratize the law. The resources that Eugene talks about that are available to him as a professor are also equally available to solo and small firm practitioners. And now we have access to expert analysis of Supreme Court cases, of sentencing law. I mean, imagine being a solo or small firm practitioner representing criminal defendants in sentencing cases. Staying on top of those legal issues is nearly impossible, but now they have access to Professor Douglas Berman, who is, I guess, has the notoriety of being one of the most cited bloggers within judicial decisions. They have access to all of his analysis of these sentencing cases. And so I think that blogs are contributing to an improvement in the quality of law that solo and small firm practitioners are able to provide. Even in my area of specialties, which is energy regulatory work, many of the reporters and the information sources that are available are very, very costly and not necessarily cost-effective for me to subscribe to. But through blogs, I can keep up with many of these developments in my profession, and in that way, I can serve my clients more effectively. I think the other thing that blogs are doing is they're helping to amplify the presence and the influence of solo and small firm practitioners. And in that regard, I'll say I also have a blog for my my law practice, Renewables Offshore, which covers trends in one of my areas of specialties, which is marine renewable energy. And I had a very similar experience to Mark, where at my blog I wrote about changes that one of the regulatory agencies, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, should make in terms of processing preliminary applications for these types of projects. And within 3 or 4 months after my post, in addition to my post, I also published a short white paper, which I highlighted at my blog. And within 3 or 4 months of that, sure enough, the agency came out with a proposal to make modifications which were very similar to some of what I had suggested. A decade ago, it would have been unheard of for a solo or small firm practitioner to have that kind of influence, and yet I know that many of the regulators and the decision makers are reading my blog. And my example is not unique. I speak to my solo and small firm colleagues who are covering the law of Texas appellate courts or issues relating to family law in Georgia, and they know, or they've been told, that there are judges and policymakers who are keeping abreast of their blogs, and so blogs are giving a voice to 60 or 70% of the legal profession, which previously didn't have that voice. And so I think that blogs are also contributing to the democratization of the profession. The last impact that blogs have had, at least in the solo and small firm community, is they've really generated this culture of camaraderie. There really have been friendships that are forged between solo and small firm bloggers, friendships that are based on initially engaging in dialogue, debating issues, and then eventually go from online discussions to maybe a phone call and even offline meetings. And so to the extent that solo and small firm practitioners have been disparate groups, or that have been isolated from others in their community, or have been limited to interaction to just those in the local bar association, and God forbid if you don't get along with those, you would have nothing left. What blogs have done is they have opened the world for the solo and small firm practitioners and allowed us to make contacts and connections that extend beyond the scope of our narrow community. And so in that respect too, I think that blogs are playing a positive role in improving the lot of the solo and small firm practitioner, and in turn, because so many of us are serving individual litigants, the smaller litigants, I think that it's also having an effect of eventually improving the quality of access of legal services within our country. So I think that those are some of the trends that I have observed in my helm in terms of blogging at myshingle.com, and in terms of observing some of these developments that have emerged from blogging.